If you're keeping track of your work with sticky notes, notebooks, or just hoping you'll remember everything, things can get overwhelming pretty quickly. In this video, I'll show you how to use ClickUp to build a simple task management system using a YouTube channel as the example. And of course, if you'd like to follow along, I will leave a link down below in the description of the pinned comment where you can click it, get started for free. No card needed unless you want to upgrade for some of the bigger perks. Let's begin. Alright, so step one is going to be creating a space. I already have one right here, but if you don't, or if you're brand new, you would simply click on create workspace right here. And what you want to do, you can do work, personal, or school. This is going to be pretty self-explanatory. If it's going to be personal, obviously you can change it around and just follow through with the steps. Doesn't have to be anything super specific or super fancy, as long as you know what the main workspace is going to be. And ideally, the workspace is like the biggest organization. So for me, I'm just using Marketing Island as my YouTube channel. It could be your name, it could be your business, could be a complete overview of everything you're doing. Okay, so keep it pretty straightforward that way. Next, what we want to do is create a space if you look down here, or just simply right in the middle. So in case you're not aware of it, just a space is pretty much a department. So if this were a larger business, you might have separate spaces for marketing, one for sales, one for customer support or operations. And since this is going to be related to YouTube, I'm just going to create one and call it content. So I'm going to click on create new space. I'm going to do content right here. You can add a description if needed, but we have an idea that this is going to be content related. Let's click on continue. All right, and this is going to depend on how much customization you want here. You can always go with starter if you want for like probably the easiest and most straightforward way of doing things. There's marketing teams, and you'll see when you click on it, there's going to be different views and statuses. Project management, I'm actually going to go with this one here. There's also product plus engineering. So I'm going to go with this. You can change these if you want. So you can click on right here. If there's any that you don't want, like on hold, maybe you don't want that there, you could say like delete status, but you can also move them around if needed. I just wanted to showcase that in case you want to just change it around to your liking. Once you do that, simply click on create space. All right, and before we create any type of task, what I want to do is create a folder next. So folders obviously help organize related lists. So if you also made podcast or blog post, each could have its own folder inside the content space. And since this is content, right, one could be for YouTube, one folder that is, one folder could be for Instagram, one could be for TikTok, and so on and so forth. So within here, what we want to do is click on plus, and let's do folder. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's good to stay neat and tidy, as I like to say, and when you're getting up and running, because if you start creating lists and spaces and they just keep adding and adding and adding up, it's just going to overall be much harder to get to where you want to go. So I'm going to do create. Great, and we have YouTube. Let's just do one more as an example. We can do folder. Say this one would be for like Facebook related content. I'm going to do create. So you might not be doing everything exactly the same as me. You probably have like your main either organization, business, channel, whatever that's going to be there. Then under it is a slightly smaller section like content. And then within that, you have your specific folders. And each of these is where we can actually create our list and task, which is actually what we're going to be doing next, which is the fun part. So a list is pretty much going to be anytime you want to do something. So anything related to YouTube in this specific section. Normally what you do here is you click on the plus right here and you do list. Let's just say this is going to be a YouTube, if I can spell it right, thumbnail, and do create. So this is going to be based on the specific task that you want to do, okay? And the cool thing about this is that when you type it in, I do recommend that you use a decent description, because you'll notice how I put YouTube thumbnail, and it's going to pick up on that. And now it's going to showcase, hey, we can add some custom fields in there, like what style do you want it? What's going to be your target audience? How about the dimensions, the color palette, inspiration links? These are going to be very helpful, especially if you hand it off to someone else to do, because the more specificity you have, the better it's going to be. It's kind of like when using AI. If you give it a bunch of junk, you're probably going to get a bunch of junk. It's just the more information is better overall. So I recommend keeping that. Let's do apply suggestions. All right, so now we can actually create our first task, which is the fun part. So right here where it says add asset, what we can do right here. So this is going to be a thumbnail. I'm just going to say like for ClickUp, like review, just as an example. Okay, that's going to be saved there. There's an extra there. I'm going to hit cancel, but this is what we want to use right here. So once that is done, let's click right here. And there's going to be a few things that we want to go through here. First and foremost, usually what you want to do is add a start date and a due date. So let's say it's going to start on the 28th. And because we want things done quickly and ferociously, we're going to do 29th for the due date. Whoever has to do that one, good luck. Time estimate if needed. Some of these you don't have to go in and do. Obviously, if it starts tomorrow and it's due Wednesday, person should probably get it done. But let's just say like this is going to be like 45 minutes. No, not hours, minutes. There we go. Much better. Okay. Tags. If you want to add tags as you go on, you could do something like YouTube would be fine. So that you can actually go through and look for all the YouTube tags. You could do one for thumbnails if you want. We have the assignees. That's going to be me at the time. And then priority. So given the fact this has to start tomorrow and it's going to be due Wednesday, this is probably going to be towards the top, but this is obviously dependent on you and what you want to do. So I will say that this one is going to be on the higher side. And if you look down here, these are going to be those custom fields that were used previously. Now you don't have to use all of these. You can if you want. Like target audience is going to be, say, online business owners. We're not creating some fancy viral cat video that needs super click me status all over it, so it's going to be pretty straightforward. Inspiration links, if you wanted to say link to a YouTube video to say this one looks cool, style, dimensions, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty straightforward. This is going to be the main part right here. So the main part. This is going to be where you can add in your description, and something I mentioned previously, the more descriptive you are, the better it's going to be for either you or someone else. Because even if you're doing it yourself, there's a lot of times where you write things down, but you're like, what did I mean by that? Because in the moment you're like, yeah, I'll remember that later. That was me in college anytime I was taking a test. I won't take notes. Like I know this now. Of course I'm going to remember it in a month. Never worked that way. Okay, so you want to be as descriptive as possible because you might forget things. And there is the ability to use AI. If you want to hit the space bar right there, you can certainly do that if needed, but be as descriptive as possible. I think it's cool that there's a comment section right here. So make sure this gets done in a green palette, something like that. And the thing is that I can see this, obviously. Anyone you share it with can see it as well. So they can always hit this, they can reply, you got it, boss, whatever it's going to be. And you can go back and forth. So there's going to be these comments and sections here so you can keep updated with anyone else that's going to be here. You're like, oh, wait, I forgot to add like this specific aspect to it. So you can go back and forth that way as well. So I was talking about commenting here so that you can talk with others. Maybe you just want to talk with yourself. That's cool as well. But if other people are going to be using it, there is going to be a section right here where you can click on share. It's pretty straightforward. You can invite by name or email. So simply add in their email. You can do invite. You can change around the links and the permissions and so on and so forth. But if you go right here, full edit's going to be fine. You can do edit as well or view only. Usually you don't want to do view only, especially if you're giving it to someone that you trust. And when you do that, another cool thing about it is the ability to kind of change it from not started to in progress. Before I get to that, I do want to showcase some of the other views that you can use. This is task list. I really like this one. There's also board. Okay, so as you move through it, in progress, review, and completed, we have calendar. And as I scroll down, you can see that's when it's supposed to start. That's when it's supposed to end. We have Gantt. This is probably my least favorite. I just think it's very hard to follow. You always have to move this kind of over and you play around with this. So not my favorite. Team, I believe, is an upgradable one. Yes, it is right there. So if you want to go with that. So either way, I do like the task list. I do like the board. And the cool thing about this is that what you can do is that if you're using this or someone else, and say you have started it, you can click on that right there and go to in progress. And you're going to notice that now it's going to be moving on up. And if you go to board, it's going to showcase the same thing in progress. Let's say it is in progress. It's just about done and needs to be reviewed. You can click right here. We can go to review. It's going to be in the review stage. And after you're done with that, once it is done, and something else I do want to mention, you can drag and drop it if needed, if you wanted to just go like that. But this is going to be how you can move it from obviously not started to in progress to review and to completed overall. And I do happen to like the task view right there. So once again, I can go here, we can do completed, and you can showcase it that way. So if we're looking at this entire process here, we can kind of give you like the 10,000 foot view. So in the beginning, we had our workspace, right? This is going to be, say, like your main brand, main company, and a little bit smaller under that is going to be content. Like content can be huge. We have YouTube, you could have Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, and anything else. Underneath that, we have the folders so that when we start creating our tasks, we can put them in there. Under YouTube, we have our YouTube thumbnail aspect right here, which we actually created and did. We clicked on add asset right here, and that's where we did that. And when adding that YouTube thumbnail specific section, I showed you how to kind of set the deadlines, the priority of it, add descriptions, comment with it, and of course, once you are done with it, we have the share button, so you can obviously share it with anyone else so they can get access. And last but not least, I showed you how to move from not started to in progress to review, and then obviously to completed overall. So that is going to conclude this tutorial about how to use ClickUp for task management. You have one task at a time. Obviously, you can have plenty of them, but in this video is just one. And I love showing the fundamentals of ClickUp because everything I showed you here, once you understand those, you're going to have a much easier time going through and actually creating the tasks where you're not going to be getting overwhelmed. And yes, ClickUp has so much more going on with it, but as long as you understand what I showed you here, I think it's going to be a much easier time when using it where you can get used to that. And then you can use some of their other features if you want to go that route. Nevertheless, I hope you got some value out of this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up as it helps me out a ton. And maybe you're just watching it and you want to check out ClickUp for yourself, you can click the link down below in the description of the pinned comment. It'll get taken to a page that looks very similar to this. Simply click on Get Started. It's free. Enter in your email. After that, there's probably 1 or 2 more steps to do, like confirming your email, and then you will be good to go. My name is James. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy.